the point though. They have a lot of talent. I believe. Now I'm not seeing it on here, which is kind of bothering me. I believe they got a guy named Kari Lee at linebacker, but I'm not really seeing that on this list. So I don't know if that's a sign that they screwed up.
Well, you know you're in trouble when Quincy Enunwa is your best wide receiver.
Yeah, exactly. There really isn't much to say.
Their right tackle is a 69 overall. I'm sorry. Whoever gets the Jets better be like the second coming of Jesus at Madden to not leave immediately.
Oh, no. They're basically going to look at their defensive team and they're going to go, how can I move pieces from my defense to my offense? It's that simple. And get a quarterback that's not over 40 or terrible.
I don't see this team even being close to competitive for at least 3 seasons.
Yeah, we said that about the Jets last year, and then Derek Carr changes everything.
Yeah, that's true. You never know what will happen. Well, let's we got a couple more teams to go over here. I know this segment's going a little longer than what we would technically like, but I mean, I want everyone to have a shot at hearing something about their team and really feeling included. So let's jump over to the NFC West. The Cardinals, they are held by JB the Dude. No, am I right?
I think you're right.
JB the Dude is, yep, he's the Cardinals. I believe he used to be the Cardinals for some time period before.
Nope. Actually, it was a perfect segue. You went from the Jets user to the Jets user.
Oh, yeah. Well, there you go. Perfect. So the Cardinals, I'm going to give them a C grade for the offseason. David Johnson, 94 overall halfback. You got to love it if you're JB. The pros, they shored up their defense. They re-signed Chandler Jones and 2 quality rookies, one at safety, one at linebacker. However, this is why they had to shore that defense up. They lost 5 defensive starters to free agency. An example, Tony Jefferson and Calais Campbell. Huge losses for a team that's trying to win a Super Bowl now. So, still a great team, but I think the loss of those defensive players drops them from being an elite team to a wild card team that really has to make a couple plays on offense here or there to get over the hump. Unless they get.
What's that? Sorry.
I was gonna say. I mean, you still got Pat Pete and the Honey Badger back there, so I mean, you still have playmakers, but 5 defensive starters out of the 11. That's rough.
True, but I think they're gonna replace Tony Jefferson with probably my favorite name in the draft, Budda Baker. When I saw that in the draft, I'm like, he's got a name that's gonna stay around in the NFL. A guy named Budda. I'm sorry, I'm rooting for Budda Baker. So when I saw this team,
I'm seeing him right here on their depth chart. He's pretty fast, but they did sign Antoine Bethea and Tyvon Branch. They also have another rookie at strong safety in Rudy Ford. But Budda Baker, without JB's adjustments, their roster depth chart right now has Budda second string free safety. So I mean, he looks like he could really do some damage though if put in the right position.
I think him and Hassan Reddick are going to basically tell you right away if this team is making another run for it or not. They're going to be 2 of the young players on that defense that they really need to get them to that next level. And Kim Diche too on the defensive line.
Yeah, their defensive line looks a little thin.
They're basically retooling a lot of this defense. I shouldn't say that. They have one guy at pretty much every level, but they don't have 2 guys like they did before at every level.
Yeah.
So
very true.
They're getting younger. Carson Palmer doesn't have much left in the tank. Same with Fitzgerald. So it's going to be a lot relied on David Johnson and some of their key pieces on defense still.
Now, I feel like key pieces on defense is a perfect segue. Let's talk about the 49ers. Now, we do not have a user for this team. This is one of the 3 teams we have left. But they got more free agent signings than any other team. They added 2 more impact rookies on defense in Solomon Thomas and Reuben Foster. And with Buckner and Armstead and Lynch from last year's draft, you're looking at hardly having to improve the defense at all from a draft position, except for maybe like strong safety or cornerback help. So if you're the 49ers, those things are making you very happy. You have a good young core. This is alarming, though. Their best player is a 91 overall fullback, Kyle Juszczyk. I'm fucking up that fucking Polish name. But
Juszczyk, whatever you want to call him.
Kyle J. You know, it's alarming when your best player is a fullback when I don't think the Giants even had a fullback on their roster technically last season in real life. So, let's look at some negatives. Mismanagement of funds, overpaid free agents, blown up quarterback situation leaves them with Brian Hoyer as the quarterback stopgap solution. If you're the 49ers, you're hoping to put up more than 17 points a game if you're lucky, and want to stand there with defense is kind of what it's looking like. But I mean, with those
their
key
defense
rookies
is actually
on defense,
very young.
Yeah.
Very young and very fast. I mean, you actually take this for what it's worth. You got Navarro Bowman. That's going to be your anchor, all right? No matter what
you're
say.
good for 5 more seasons easily right there.
Okay. They got help at middle linebacker in Reuben Foster, which they could probably move him to outside linebacker, but he might have been one of the biggest drops in the draft at linebacker from Alabama.
Yeah.
There's some question concerns, but you put him with Ahmad Brooks, that linebacking core doesn't look so bad. Then you start looking at the defensive line. Another, Solomon Thomas. They traded down, let the Bears move up in the draft. They put him up there. They got Eric Armstead on the D-line. They got Aaron Lynch, who they kind of move around a little bit. I know, I want to say I'm missing.
They have Elvis Dumerville now.
They got Dumerville and they got Buckner. Now,
Yep.
They have a very loaded defensive line. So they're going to be moving pieces in and out and coming at you big time. Mm-hmm. Secondary, still very solid.
Eric
Jimmy
Reed's
Ward,
back there.
Eric Reed. They got Jimmy Ward from Northern Illinois, my neck of the woods. I mean, you got guys that you can put back there, but it's like, all right, so your offense is pretty much old, very old, and older. I mean, you got Pierre Garçon, you got Brian Hoyer, you got Carlos Hyde. Seems like he just seems to be getting older by the minute. So I think a lot of this team got messed up when a lot of guys left early.
Yep.
Who was it? It was it
Patrick
Bolin?
Willis.
It was Patrick Willis left, but there was another kid. We were just talking about this. I want to say it was a linebacker named Boland. He was one of their better linebackers, and he left after like a year. Yeah, he left after a year or two, and this was right after Patrick Willis, or it might have been the same year. And then Anthony Davis left and retired on the offensive line. I mean, these were big pieces that all of a sudden they just retired. You know, they had Aldon Smith with his problems. They got rid of him. Mm-hmm. This team is basically
tackle retired. That cowboy type player, I forgot his name, but he was a monster. Just, it's hard for a team to build when you don't even know who's going to be there. And
at coach.
Yeah, and at coach. So let's move on to a team that has a little more consistency. The Seahawks are being managed by Iceman Tron. Iceman Tron walks into a situation where he's got Cam Chancellor at 95 overall. I think it is more than that. I think some of these stats and overalls are different. from the pre-released spreadsheet that came out. I believe that Cam Chancellor might be a 98 when I was looking more recently. But no, Iceman Tron walks into a situation where they maintain an elite defensive unit by not trading Richard Sherman. Eddie Lacy was added on a team with a friendly contract that could turn out favorable if Lacy plays well. Negative, too many gambles on second chance players. Luke Jekyll, Eddie Lacy, limited cap, no real huge, just major additions. But
Yeah,
I was going to give them
and
like a C grade.
Seattle's just one of those teams that like you look at and going, did they use all their chances? Like they had all this talent, and then you start paying guys like Russell Wilson and some of these safeties big money. You can't keep that team together for that long.
I mean, Bobby Wagner commands a check. Michael Bennett commands a check. It's going to be interesting how long this team can stay together. But as of right now, they still got KJ Wright. The pieces are there. Deshaun Shedd is really trying to step into being that number 2 corner. I mean, Iceman Tron's looking at a really nice situation where he can win now, and the pieces are there. There's trade bait. He can definitely build for the future rather easily.
And here's the key: if you're Iceman Tron, get some offensive linemen. You're gonna need it.
Yep. So let's jump to the Chris is the Bomb 17 commanded Rams. The LA Rams, I gave them a C- off-season grade. 99 overall, Aaron Donald anchoring the middle of that front 7. Pros, they upgraded the O-line with the addition of veteran offensive tackle Whitworth from the Bengals. Negative, roster full of holes, Kenny Britt gone. But now that Bills trade came through, Kenny Britt's gone, but you got Sammy Watkins. So, that necessarily isn't a big negative anymore. The Rams could be a team to look out for. Do you think that's a fair statement, or?
It's funny to see when you go in the same day. I'm sitting here hearing Sammy Watkins got traded to the Rams. Sammy Watkins was traded to the Rams in our season last year. Then the same day you hear what's his name, Jordan Matthews went to the Bills, and first thing I heard was Eagles receiver goes to the Bills. And I went, if it's Dorial Green Beckham, I swear to God, somebody's watching our Madden league and just literally stealing trades like from us, and I'm like, that would have been hilarious. But no, the Rams are probably on paper set to make a big push. It's tough because every team in this division has their weaknesses, but when you look at it top to bottom, it's all going to come down to Jared Goff for the Rams. Yep. I mean, if Goff makes that step, they have all the defensive talent. They have the running back. They have the top-end wide receiver talent. Speed with Tavon Austin. I mean, they have it. And they have finally got some offensive line help. If Goff doesn't make the step, they could be pushed in this rebuild program another 5 years because they don't have a quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, you can only give someone so many weapons, and if they don't do anything with it, I mean, you got to be able to read the playbook. Can't have any window lickers at quarterback. I mean, I think some of us found that out firsthand.
True, and Miguel was one that made Jared Goff into an absolute beast. So if he was still on here, I'd give him his due.
Oh, definitely. That was one of the best trades that we saw happen. So let's stay on the west side of things. Let's look at the AFC West. The Raiders. The Raiders are controlled by Lazy Boy 602. So if you're Lazy Boy, you're walking into a situation where you got an outside linebacker named Khalil Mack, who's like holding down your defense without a question. But who in Khalil Mack is going to give that team an outside rush? So